Ladies, young ladies, and Russia, good evening to all. Once again, you are welcome here on your platform. Much loved, the platform for awakening consciousness. So this is the headline of international news. French President Emmanuel Macron is very determined to deal a heavy blow to Russia. Macron is not giving up on the Russian Federation. Macron is not weakening. In relation to the mobilization of all of Europe, if not the mobilization of all of France against the Russian Federation. The truth is that France has such an interest in this conflict not ending that Emmanuel Macron is multiplying initiatives. As we are speaking yesterday, March 20th, 2025, I would say, Emmanuel Macron from Brussels announced an emergency meeting with willing countries to confront Russia. The meeting will take place on the 27th of this month, March 27th, so this coming Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, in Paris. The objective is to create an unparalleled force, a force never before equaled, that will rise against the Russian Federation. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, in the context of this video conference, it is this news that we will be discussing. Thank you for sharing the video conference as much as possible. Thank you for giving it many likes. Thank you for subscribing for all those who have not yet subscribed. Thank you for inviting your friends to subscribe. So let's dive deep, dear ladies and gentlemen. What should we take away from President Emmanuel Macron's statement in Brussels on March 20th, 2025? Emmanuel Macron says this. He says we have a strategy to rearm Europe. He wants Europe to rearm. And to begin, Emmanuel Macron took advantage. He went to Germany, to one of the bases at the German border, where one of France's air bases is located, which happens to be the very heart of France's nuclear deterrent system, where Rafale jets are stationed. At this point, he made statements. He announced how many times they are ready to equip themselves with more weapons, since the situation is chaotic, since in the coming months, according to Macron, it will be necessary to prepare for something more serious. And what will this more serious thing be? This confrontation with the Russian Federation. So, the French President Emmanuel Macron spoke this Thursday, March 20th, 2025, from Brussels. He said this. He says that Russia does not sincerely want this peace at this stage. So, Emmanuel Macron puts himself in the mind and thoughts, even in the heart of the Russian president. Emmanuel Macron says, after having inspected the inside of the heart, scanned, and x-rayed the thoughts of President Vladimir Putin, Emmanuel Macron says that Russia does not sincerely want this peace. So that means that everything Vladimir Putin is doing is just smoke and mirrors. It's a pretense. That is to say, even before continuing, one wonders how people manage to understand things. Vladimir Putin is fighting. He is doing his best to show his good faith, his goodwill. But they are always ready to label him as someone who does not sincerely want this peace. But what has Vladimir Putin done concretely? When Putin finished exchanging with Donald Trump, he ordered the halt of attacks on energy infrastructures. And his army stopped. Despite the fact that Ukraine continues to attack, Vladimir Putin's order to stop remains in effect. The world is witnessing this. Emmanuel Macron himself is witnessing this. He knows very well that it is Ukraine that is attacking. So, what has Russia done? What behavior has Russia adopted that proves Russia sincerely does not want this peace? Russia had ordered the change, Russia had ordered the exchange of countries. It has been done. Putin announced that he would offer 23 prisoners to Ukraine to demonstrate his good faith. He did that. What then proves that the gentleman does not sincerely want this peace at this stage, but it is they who do not want this peace. That is why strategies are being defined, meeting after meeting, by Emmanuel Macron to ensure the disruption of this peace that is rapidly approaching. Here is what Emmanuel Macron stated in response to the Russian position on the American-Ukrainian ceasefire proposal. Thus, the French head of state also announced the holding of the summit on March 27th in Paris, and which will see the presence of Volodymyr Zelensky and Kiev's allies. And so, in clear terms, Emmanuel Macron, according to reports, wants a peacekeeping force. So, he wants two forces. A first European force, and this time, thinking he's cleverer, he wants a UN-led peacekeeping force in Ukraine to protect the future peace agreement. A peacekeeping force should be sent because Vladimir Putin has said he can accept anything but not NATO forces on Ukrainian territory, claiming to defend or monitor the peace agreement. Putin said it's out of the question. If that's the case, no signature. Now, thinking he's so clever, it's that same NATO force that Putin refuses, that he wants to send back to Ukraine on Ukrainian soil, but now under the UN label. Because Europe will tell the UN, no, we have soldiers on hand. No need to send other soldiers. So the same NATO soldiers will now go not under the NATO label, but under the UN label. This is one of the strategies that Emmanuel Macron is adopting. According to the newspaper, Macron is pushing for the deployment of UN peacekeepers in Ukraine. But these peacekeepers will be the same NATO soldiers. So, Russia has declared that any presence of NATO troops in Ukraine is unacceptable. And so here is the essence of what Emmanuel Macron is doing. Rearming. France mobilizing to rearm. Europe. Ensuring that if NATO and European troops do not go to Ukraine, whether they are UN troops, NATO troops going to the field, but in the name of the UN. Here, dear ladies and gentlemen, is the headline of international news. Thank you to everyone for your contributions to the realization of this video conference through various shares. Thank you, and I will be back shortly with more news. That was the voice of your one and only Samurai.